taking this time.
Oh, that's all right. I think everyone might be able to hear this soon. And we've got some people joining us now.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, John. Thanks, Peter. And welcome to everyone that's made it along so far for our webinar introducing the Civil Workforce Forum project. My name's Fraser May. I'm from Civil Contractors New Zealand, and I'm the Communications Manager and also looking after this project. With me today, I have Peter Silcock, who is the Chief Executive of Civil Contractors New Zealand. Good afternoon, Peter. And I've got John Bryant, who has been engaged as project consultant. Now, John, his background, he's formerly Higgins Group Strategy Manager, and he was also very closely involved in CCNZ's civil trades. So thanks for everyone for coming along. We'll just wait for a moment or so while people turn up in the webinar room, and then we'll get into it. Thanks to those of you that have been involved in the project so far, really appreciate it. And please feel free to use the chat function. There's a chat function on the right-hand side of the webinar window there. If you click that chat function, you'll be able to ask us any questions during the webinar, and look forward to that. Thank you. Just wait for another moment or so while people turn up in the room, and then we'll get through into it. So we're up in the Manawatu, John?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's good.
Bloody cold here in Wellington.
It is cold though. Yeah.
The sun did shine through before though.
And we've had one question come through already through the webinar chat function. Is this being recorded? Yes, the webinar will be recorded and shared following the live event. So you're welcome to share that. We'll also publish that to the Civil Contractors New Zealand social media and YouTube channels. All right, so I think we're just about ready to get into it now. So I'll just introduce the project now. The Civil Workforce Forum project is a stock-taking gaps analysis. So really what we're looking at is how people successfully enter Aotearoa's civil construction industry. So this is a Civil Contractors New Zealand project, the National Association for Civil Construction, and we've been supported in this project by the Ministry of Social Development. So Jamie Kissick is our industry key account manager for construction, and he was going to co-present today. Unfortunately, Jamie's had a bereavement, so can't make it along today, but yeah, wish him all the best, and he'll be involved. We're also supported by the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment. Now, both of those agencies do a lot of work supporting people into civil construction jobs. So thanks to those that have been involved in that space. Now, I'll just let Peter Silcock give you a little bit of background around the project and what led us to found this project. So please take it away, Peter.
Thanks a lot, Fraser, and welcome along to everyone who's here. So this is obviously a Civil Contractors New Zealand initiative, really largely driven off the back of our members have continually told us over the last 4 or 5 years that people is the biggest challenge that we're facing, and that getting the right people into their work is just the thing they see as being really critical. Interestingly, we've just completed our CCNZ Teletrack NABMAN construction survey, industry survey for 2021. The preliminary results of that show that the number of respondents looking to increase their staff over the coming year is at 70%. That is higher than it has been in any of the last 5 years that we've been undertaking the survey. So we're not just seeing this being an important issue, but it's an increasingly important issue. We've got a massive pipeline of work. There is still a little bit of uncertainty around the timing and funding of some of that work, but I think if you look forward over the next 5 years, it's a really impressive increase in the amount being invested. And as we work through the Three Waters reform, we're anticipating that that would fuel further work in the Three Waters, which is already increasing under the governance of local government. What we have found, though, is quite low awareness of the pathways of people about how they get into the industry. And one of the classic comments that we hear is, "I didn't know anything about this industry until I started working in it." Often we're relying on family members and things to get people into the industry. So I think this pathway for people entering the industry is a really important issue for us to address. Look, there's obviously at the moment new challenges around recruiting workers from offshore. Civil Contractors is doing some work on that, and this week we've sent out a survey to most of our members regarding the challenges in that area. But clearly the government is saying that they want us to develop people within New Zealand, and I think, to be fair, the companies that work in the civil construction industry are keen on developing locals as well. But really the government is making it more difficult to recruit from offshore. We're seeing that right now. Also, entry-level training really sits with employers. There's not a lot of government support for entry-level training, although MSD has definitely been doing some of that. But there is, it really sits with employers. Once people get into the industry and are undertaking industry training, it's definitely support for that training. But it's really this entry-level training, bridging that gap between someone who's interested and having a reasonably productive worker on site. Really, that's what this program is all about. It's about addressing that gap and how we can accelerate the intake of people into the industry and make sure that we're getting the right people as well. And we know there's a lot of good work already going on in this space, and a key part of the project is capturing that good practice and making sure that we're not reinventing the wheel when we create these systems to bring people into the industry. So with that, I'll just hand back to Fraser to give a bit more detail around that program.
Thanks very much,
Fraser.
Peter. Really appreciate that. Yes, so thanks everyone also for attending so far. Just been notified that the chat function was disabled, despite the fact that a couple of comments came through. So I've just gone and enabled that again now. So please feel free to ask us any questions during the webinar using the chat function, which is in the right-hand panel there. If you click the two little speech bubbles. All right, so just giving you a bit of background about how we got to this point as well. Those of you that may know about Epic Careers and Infrastructure, we launched that in 2018, and that was a concerted industry career promotion to bring new people into the industry and make people more aware of the jobs that are on offer. So we've been having a lot of conversations with not only members, but also people across the wider education sector, and also people that support people into jobs in civil construction as part of that work through some of the partnerships we've got. So through some of the work we've done all sorts of events. We've reached about 600,000 people through cinema advertising and social media. We ran a whole bunch of careers events. We have been active in schools, and we've been also managing some referral of interest, as well as partnering with some virtual reality on even half-day workshops to try and bring people into the industry. So we've been having that discussion at a whole lot of different levels. We've also got civil trades, which is the industry's recognition that someone is, has reached the stage where they're a competent tradesperson. So Civil Contractors New Zealand's been putting a heck of a lot of work into this space recently, but I think the thing we've come up against is really how, once people are interested, how do we actually connect them through to a job or to get the skills that they need for a job? So the essence of this project really is exploring that entry point. we've got civil trades, we've got some promotion, but actually what we need to do now is to connect that in with that entry point to industry. So where do people start, and where do they go to gain the skills? So I think some of the things we're looking at there, first is what industry induction is currently delivered by employers, agencies and trainers. As part of this project, John Bryan and I've been going around the country talking to civil construction employers and supporters, really to try and cover these questions off. So how do people access the skills they need? So again, a classic example is really, if someone knows what a plate compactor is, they can, and how to bring it to you safely, then they're doing a little bit better than someone that doesn't on a work site. What sort of industry induction and initial training to deliver people the skills they need to make a start in the industry. What's working well and what else is needed. So in terms of this project, what was the plan? Well, we came up with the idea of a broad civil construction industry workforce forum, so that then everyone can make their needs known. We can share the details of what's working well and what could work better, and better map out the ways that people enter civil construction jobs and how to get the skills to enter the industry. So what are we going to wind up with? Well, we're going to wind up with a much clearer industry position on how those entry points to the workforce should work and how they can be supported, as well as hopefully some buy-in from employers around that process. So I'm going to just hand over to John now to talk a little bit about what we've found so far and the conversations we've had with people around New Zealand. I think our meetings so far have been pretty involved. So, in terms of some quite long meetings with people in the industry. But I'll just hand over to John to share a few of the things that we've been testing with people. Take it away, John.
Cool. Thank you, Fraser. Well, basically, we've been visiting some regions, visiting some employers, visiting skills hubs and a number of organisations that are actively involved in finding pathways to get people into our industry. And really, just the next few slides are a summary of a snapshot of what we've found so far. And I'll just work through things. One of the fundamental things we've found is that there are actually few education pathways into civil trades employment. Basically, the education system, when you come out of school, you're still not ready or you're unskilled for our industry. And so that was the first thing. And then the second thing is we've discovered that the work ready criteria is not actually well defined by the industry. A lot of organisations set up that you should have a driver's licence and be drug free and have a good attitude. But even when people turn up for work or turn up at an interview with it, they still don't necessarily get the job. So it's not clear actually what's required to come into the industry. The minimum requirements are not set and they're not clear. So if we don't understand it as an industry, how can people outside the industry actually understand? And so we're coming to a conclusion that the industry needs an induction process. And we need to understand how can we actually bring people into the industry, what is needed to get them in a position where they're safe and productive to actually enter it. Also, we're discovering that generally for organisations in our industry, there's an expectation that the government should support entry to the industry or the foundation skills with funding. But the training delivery is not widely funded outside of MSD and MB. And so most of it actually is falling on the civil construction companies. We've discovered so far that there are a number of companies that do have actually good practice examples of new entrants coming in. Some of these contractors have taken it on themselves to develop programs and are very actually effective in that. But generally, it's to say that there's only a few companies and that there are a number of companies that still have a way to go. And there's an opportunity, I think, as an industry to learn from each other and actually share how we can have a much more clearer framework and programs to upskill our workers. The Civil large projects are also an avenue for new entrants into the industry, and we've done some case studies on some of those, and how they approach it is sort of different from project to project, and how much happens is dependent on the funding models and the contract models that are introduced. So there's variable success with that, but it certainly is a good avenue to get new entrants into the industry. One of the findings also so far is that the industry is offering a development. Well, the question we've got to ask ourselves, is the industry offering a development opportunity, or is it just a long-term role as a labourer? And that often depends on the company management structure and the training philosophies. But I think the key issue here is if we're wanting to attract young people, we need to be offering that development opportunity, because they have other choices, and just thinking that your future is as a labourer is not really attractive to young people. The other thing that we're finding too, looking at some of the ways that people are successfully bringing people into the industry, is that there's a demand for practical training, and that to actually introduce that practical training is effective, but is expensive, but can also be effective. So we do have models that are working, but they are few and far between organisations operating in a small scale at the moment in an isolation. But certainly this is an opportunity to explore further for us as an industry. So that's just a brief summary of findings, and I'll hand it over to Fraser to carry on with the forum.
Yeah, thanks, John. So there's a few other things on the horizon. I guess the procurement rules have changed. So we've got social procurement now enabling training to be funded from project procurement as a measurable criteria at tender. So in terms of what that looks like as a way to bring people on and actually get some training funded for the people that we've got coming through, that's something we need to look at as an industry and share those answers. And civil construction companies, regardless, we'll still need to train and assess people. Some of the conversations we've had around industry induction is that, certainly if a person comes through after an induction, that's great that they know what a plate compactor is. It's great that they know how to be safe on a work site. But the company still needs to know that that person has the skills to be safe on the job and to meet their needs as a company. And I thought that was a very valid point. So I guess we're continuing this project at the moment. What comes next after we kind of hit the mark? So we got industry perspective on different models for people to join the industry. So that's things like that could be a managed apprenticeship. There's something new in terms of the Infrastructure Skills Centre, which is a pilot starting up next week about what a well-resourced training hub and facility to give people foundation skills looks like. There's all sorts of things going on at the moment, but if we can discuss them as an industry, then we can really make the best of it and share those answers. And also, as part of this project, we're really testing the appetite for this forum to continue as a CCNZ subgroup and really inform the industry voice and interface with other things that are coming up, like the Construction Centre of Vocational Excellence and the Construction and Infrastructure Workforce Development Council, so that we can really have a specific input to that as the civil construction industry. So timeline of the project, we're actually early on in the project, reasonably early on still, in terms of the information gathering phase. So just pretty much reaching the end of that now. We will still meet with a few other companies out there one-on-one in terms of those case studies. But the next part, we're really testing those findings. So we've got a workshop coming up on the 28th of July, and I'll share a link to that in the webinar chat there. So if you do want to register for that, then you'll be really good to have you along and kind of test what we're coming up with as part of this project. Next we've got the project. Then we've got the project conclusion, which is really the release of the findings to industry and the wider stakeholders. So that's in terms of, what does this perspective look like when it reaches, client or perhaps the broader education sector. It's, pretty different story, and it's a pretty big topic. So, I think good for us to fully understand what we want as the civil industry first. So now I guess we've got some time for cover off questions and kind of share any other information that people need. I'll get you to turn your webcams back on there, John and Peter, and please, those of you who are here, please ask away and let us know what you need to know to really inform this project and to be a part of it. Yes, we've got some questions coming through. So we've got, are we fully utilising the Gateway program? So we've been talking to a lot of the people that we've met with around Gateway about whether they use it or not, and about capacity as well. So those that we've met with have said that quite a few of them do use it, but they might use it at quite a small scale. So if you're talking about an individual company, they might have opportunities around for 1 or 2 people to gain some work experience, but it's quite resource heavy, having those people supervised. Yeah, so that's part of the answer. Could you elaborate on that for me a little bit, John, from what we've discussed with Fed so far?
Well, I think you answered it. It's happening in small scale with companies that are interested. The challenge is that it only brings a few school students on at a time, and it's quite challenging for companies to resource around that. And there's some question about how many actually get through the school system and then still actually stay on. I don't think that's being measured very well, but certainly needs to be explored further.
Yeah. I think just a comment I'd make too is I think there's good opportunities there, but we also do need to focus on how we maybe attract even those 20 or 30-year-olds who are in other work, who may want a more, I guess, a more fulfilling, offer them something that they haven't got. So yeah, I think while the Gateway's good, it doesn't necessarily target some of those more mature people, in their 20s and 30s that we might want to take on.
Yeah. So licensing has also been raised. So I guess, is there any way we can influence a change to licensing? And I think, obviously from the people that we've talked to, licensing is one of the biggest barriers. So if people aren't coming in with their licenses, it takes a long time for them to get those. I suppose, yes, we have slightly outside of the training and employment space made submissions on the licensing process. Did you want to talk briefly about that, Peter? Or?
Yeah, look, I think we've certainly been quite keen to link licensing, sort of remove some of the time barriers there are there, and link more to competency rather than just time. So that's what we've supported. I think it's very, what I'd say, it's very slow moving. It's quite a controversial area of as well, because while we know what the negative impacts in terms of getting drivers and things through, there's also the issues around the number of young people who are either killing or harming themselves through motor vehicle accidents and through, I guess, lack of experience or whatever the reason for that is. So yeah, it's quite a tricky issue politically, but one we are working on.
Yeah. I think there's another interesting statistic to be aware of, that it's something like 15 or 20% of students graduating from school have a driver's license, class 1. It's only 15 and 20%, so 18-year-olds. So that lowers the pool of available people from school to actually have a class 1 license, which is really a minimum criteria for someone wanting to perform in our industry.
So yeah, understanding that's one of the barriers, and if we can communicate that, that's absolutely something we can do to try and encourage that at the schools level. We've had quite a few comments about careers.govt.nz and there and sort of the school connections in terms of promotion. So there are a couple of initiatives from Tertiary Education Commission. One is careers.govt.nz, and another is called the Inspiring the Future campaign, which is around mentoring in schools. So that's probably more about, you know, a business having a personal contact that goes out to schools. Yeah, so there are a few initiatives like that coming through as well in terms of the promotion side of things. I think the question we'd have though is what that clips into within employers. You know, so if they've got, and actually how that's resourced as well. So, you know, having people coming through, you know, how do we make space for those people to be on a work site and to be safe? You know, I have had a response, actually, I floated that it was hard with someone, and they said, yeah, well, that's an excuse. We can put them in a ute and show them that way. But, you know, if we're making time for it, then we're making time for it. So, you know, there's some good discussion to have there, I think. One of the comments is around local programs with schools. So in terms of ensuring school leavers are work ready, and yeah, we'd say that those are pretty important, but they're also variable from region to region. So it's really good that contractors can establish a relationship with a school and kind of service that with people that are coming on. I think, you know, if you've got that relationship, that's a really good start, because then you can inform directly the school about what your local business needs. So, you know, that's great. Another one was around successful programs to deliver a solid foundation for tradespeople, civil tradespeople. And I think what we're really doing at the moment is trying to map those out, because, you know, they tend to, a lot of them come up, and they come up for a time and then they go away, and we don't necessarily learn from them as an industry. So part of what we're looking to do with this project is to try and retain that and share that knowledge a little bit more around actually how we can better introduce people to those foundation skills when they're coming in unskilled. So yeah, I think we probably don't have all of that information just yet. And that's part of what we're looking to map out as part of this project.
I think, Fraser, one of the key outcomes of the work that we're doing, and I think your time frame said we'd be finished in September. I know that's still a little way away, but yeah, we would definitely have some case studies and information about the programs that we've had a look at as part of this. So that's, I think, answering Joe's question, is that we might not be right there at the moment to provide that, but the idea of the program is to get that information out there and share the information about, you know, what is there and what's working.
Yeah, but certainly we're looking to map it out, and it's a really pivotal time at the moment. So if you look at some of the new social procurement initiatives that are coming through in terms of Amatai, for instance, which is looking to, you know, perhaps in terms of doing better to look after the people that are coming into the industry, and it's sort of almost a mutual agreement between the employers and those others. Yeah, so there's a lot going on in that space as well, in terms of the client space and in terms of the social procurement rules that are being implemented, and something we really need to be looking at as we're developing this project. Yeah.
I think the big challenge that I see, Fraser, is, you know, definitely this: how do we scale up some of these successful programs as well? Yeah. Because the need we have, and that need, as everyone knows, is being driven by the pipeline of work, which is increasing. But also, you know, we tend to have quite a bit of older workforce as well. So we've got people leaving anyway that we need to replace. So yeah, there's really a need to identify which of those programs are going to be able to be scaled up and increase numbers. You know, maybe double the numbers that people are putting through.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, we have some real key tests coming up as an industry. So we've got, for instance, the Infrastructure Skills Centre, which Fulton Hogan is leading in Civil Contractors New Zealand's playing a role in getting industry feedback on that. So if we have the industry channel, feedback channels open, we can actually, you know, say whether something is better able to meet the needs or not, or if it could really if there's appetite for it to be scaled up as a way to deliver training for people coming into the industry. So, and that's really, that one in particular is a 6-week training course that aims to deliver people the foundation skills they need for a successful career in infrastructure. And, so we support that as a way that people can join the industry. But it's also really good to hear from those employers that may use that in the future to develop people, how that's tuned, and actually to let them know that it's happening and to keep them plugged into the new initiatives like that are coming through, so that then we can actually kind of make that transition together. So another question coming through about, so Scott says, there are many industries currently struggling with an abundance of available people with transferable skills. So if we could use the forum to tap into those people as an alternative pathway for their career. And I think that that's a really good point. So, if we've got points that we can refer those people to, and part of that is around direct employment, and part of that's around, if we've got a short program, for instance, something like, I know at a tier 1 level, Downer is running some really good campaigns around that in terms of Road Ready and Water Ready, which are short industry inductions for people coming into those spaces. But I think just most contractors will be working on that in some way, shape or form. It's just, actually getting that connection there from both sides. I mean, from the conversations we have with, say, careers advisors, it was very similar to the conversations we're having with contractors, which is that there is a gap between when people want to work and when they are considered skilled enough to work. So I think, the more we can do in that space, the better. Yeah. Anyway, so that's probably given a bit of a rounded introduction to the project and what we're working on at this stage. The more of you that can send us, your feedback and thoughts on this, it's a big space, but the more we can represent your perspectives. Any final words, Peter and John?
Fraser, just wondering, is there an opportunity for people to send a bit of information or a link or something like that to local programs to yourself to, so we can at least not necessarily do an in-depth on them, but at least list those programs that are there?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of the list of programs, we'll certainly be looking to distribute that as part of the project, but we'll also be doing a bit of a survey as well. So I know there are a lot of surveys floating around at the moment, but everyone that's registered for this webinar will get a survey link following the webinar, and it'd be great if you could complete it to let us know a little bit more about where you're at and what your needs are, so that we can ensure that voice is heard and that those needs are met. Right. Anything else, John?
I think just one thing to add, I think, is that every single organisation in the industry has a role to play here. The training for these new entrants is on-the-job training. So your workplaces have to be actually geared up to do that on-the-job training. And we all have a key role to play. There's just so much work out there and not enough people.
Yeah,
we have to all buy into this.
Okay, fantastic.
And the other thing, we have got quite a big merry-go-round going at the moment. We get qualified people off our competitors, and it's certainly driving up salaries. But the important thing is that we can't continue on like that. We're not going to achieve the goals that for the industry and for infrastructure that are out there. We're not going to achieve that with our current workforce. So we do need more people. There's no doubt about that at all. And by kind of being in this merry-go-round where we grab someone from someone else's company, doesn't actually increase the pool. It might solve a short-term problem, but the long-term problem is how we get more people working in the industry and seeing the opportunities that there are. Thanks.
Well, thanks for your time, everyone that attended, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Bye.